Drayton Manor has seen a lot of changes recently. It's currently celebrating its 75th birthday anniversary, and not all changes are good. There's some fantastic things and some not so great things as well. But how did we get here? What's the future of the park? And what would I do if I was in charge? Welcome to the Future of series featuring the Drayton Manor Resort. Okay, so we're going to go straight into it then with the 2025 season. So the season's not been great, I'll be honest. It's been basically shocking at best. So there's a lot of ride closures, a lot of things are going wrong. So you've got Gold Rush valid multiple times, and the second train is still not operating. It's at the back of the track there in bits, and that's been that for a few months now. The Wave had its new train, however, multiple rows don't seem to work. There's always a couple of rows there that are off, so that's seen reduced capacity as well. You've currently got the Bounty that's down. You've got Maelstrom that keeps having restraint issues. There's just a lot of things going wrong at the park. And top of all is the Fast Track. Now, I don't know why they do it, but Fast Track and Rat Pass, I've spoken about it in a recent video, I'll link that up there as well. It's not a great guest experience. You know, you go queue, you see you're 10 people in front of you, and it's a half an hour queue, just due to the amount of priority that these systems seem to take over the main queue. And as just a normal kind of paying guest, the guest experience is pretty bad. And I don't know why, because the 2024 season was nowhere near as bad as this, but this year I would say this is the worst operating park here in the UK. It's a shame to say, because I absolutely love this park. I think it can be one of the best parks here in the UK. But things are just going really wrong, and I think it's worth bringing us up. But let's go through a bit of history then and find out how we actually got here in the first place. Okay, so the park actually originally opened as like a farm there that was owned by a family back in the 1950s. And this family owned the park all the way up until 2020, where they saw quite a lot of financial issues, you know, in the sort of 2010, 2015 era. We saw ride closures, you know, we saw the closure of G-Force there, which is an X-Car model. We saw things such as Excalibur was closed, Powered Adventure was closed. We also saw a young girl tragically lost her life down the River Rapids. So the park just couldn't get a break. And that, mixed with lower attendance from guests, it just culminated in the family saying enough is enough. And unfortunately, in 2020, they did sell the park. And that's not where the story ends, obviously. The park was actually acquired by the Looping Group. Now, the Looping Group have got a lot of experience. They've done this before. They already own a few parks here in the UK, such as West Midland Safari Park, as well as Pleasurewood Hills. So they definitely know what they're doing. And those parks, if you've been to those, they've got some great presentation, and they really seem to care about the park. Now, Drayton Manor definitely seems to be a step above everything that they've got before. It really seems to be their crown jewel, and you can tell that from all the investment that's been going in. Now, when the Looping Group did take over in 2020, they almost immediately put out an announcement to say, we're going to put a lot of investment in this park, but this is going to be a family park. And then subsequently, unfortunately, we saw the removal of things such as Pandemonium and, of course, Apocalypse, which I think a lot of people were very, very against. Apocalypse is one of our best rides here in the UK, one of the best drop towers out there, and unfortunately, that did close as well. So the park knew the direction, they were focused, but then since those things have gone, we've seen Shockwave has been turned into the Waves, so it's got the new sit-down trains and a lower height restriction. We've seen Gold Rush being introduced. We've seen the reopening of the Rapids. We've seen absolutely fantastic transformation there with Adventure Cove, and obviously the new area, Frontier Falls as well. So the park really knows what they're doing. They seem to be driven. There's a lot of investment going into this park, and they seem to be a great company in terms of that as well. You've got some great talk there from the actual managing director as well, especially over the kind of Gold Rush. There was a lot of information coming out. We saw a lot of behind the scenes, and it's really, really promising future ahead. So that's where we're at today then. So everything seemed fine. However, as I say, Looping Group are very experienced, they know what they're doing, and they really needed to increase the attendance. And that's what they've done, you know. If you go to the park recently, they've got some fantastic things going on there. You can buy a ticket for like I think it's $27.50 at the time of filming. If you want a return ticket, it's $19.50 if you buy it there when you're on site as well. And they're actually doing a thing at the minute where if you bought a ticket, I think it was in August, then you get a free return until the end of September. So I've got one of these, so I will be going back to the park in the next 4 weeks. So some fantastic initiation there to kind of get more guests, get more people into the park. They've also got late night riding. We know obviously in the UK, the park hours tend to be 4, 5 o'clock closures. Drayton have been doing 7 p.m. and obviously on the fireworks, which we've been seeing every other week pretty much, those are 10 p.m. as well. So they really know what they're doing, and it's fantastic to see. Now the park does seem to be suffering from success. So what do I mean by that then? So before, when the park was owned by the previous owners, the park never saw that many, that much footfall, that much traffic. So, you'd have, I'm just pulling numbers out the air. Let's say you had 1,000 people on park. On the one train services, the park could cope with that. There was no issues because, there wasn't massive queues. Guest experience was fairly good because everything was like a 10, 15 minute queue. And you just get on everything and it was fine. You didn't really, notice if there were any bad operations, things like that, because there was no, like I said, there was no queues. So that's what it was like before. However, now, because you've got this massive increase in attendance, you can tell the cracks are starting to show. So you've got things such as, one train services, which I've just spoke about, which is just horrendous. You cannot have a one train service on a park where if it was 1,000 before, it's like 20,000 now. It's like honestly, it feels like a 20 times increase in guests. I remember going there years ago when it was the previous owners. There was about 20 people on park. It was just dead, honestly. Everything was walk on. It's great from a guest experience, but obviously that was not sustainable. Whereas now they've got this massive increase in footfall, but the guest experience is rubbish. So they need to increase the capacity of the rides. You've got to get a second train there on the coasters. You need to stop these 10-minute dispatches. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I've timed it multiple times. I've been there 4 times this season. And on my recent trip there where I did the group meetup, I'll link that video up there if you want to check that out. Everyone said the same. I think it was 14 of us, and everyone at the end of the day said, had a great day. The park operations are shocking. So it's not just me saying this, it's quite common amongst everyone that I've spoke to there as well. So you've got to get those ops sorted, and you have to, and Drayton Manor, I'm talking to you directly now, you've got to stop prioritising fast and rat pass. You are killing the park and you're killing the guest experience. Okay, so this 100% priority on fast pass and rat pass, it's got to stop, because as a paying guest, just someone that's going in the park, you shouldn't have to buy a fast pass to experience a good day. And you're talking, you're getting 4 rides in a 10-hour day. It's just not acceptable, and it's not that you can't do it, because I've seen you do it before. It's just your operations are so let down. 10-minute dispatches, 2 or 3 trains back to back, all rat pass and fast pass, and the main queue just doesn't move. It's not a great experience. And I think if you carry on going this way, before long you're going to start to see reducing attendanship, and you're going to be in the same position that the previous owners are in. I really don't want that to happen. Okay, I absolutely love this park. I think this park is one of the best parks in the UK. I really want it to do well, and it can do well with just a couple of little tweaks. As I say, stop the fast and rat pass abusing, get those capacities increased, and just have a manager there, a bit like Andy Highgate there at the Pleasure Beach. He runs a tight ship, Go have a chat with him. All the operations of the Pleasure Beach are great. Have a chat with him, and I'm sure he'll sort you out. You've got to get those operations better, and that's kind of it in terms of the admin points and things that I would do for now, because your presentation's fantastic. I think your ride offerings are fantastic, and you've got some great initiatives there, to kind of get people into the park. So overall, the park's in a great place, but you've just got to do those admin points before we can start seeing any more investments, in my opinion. Okay, and that brings us to here today then. So right now, I think the park's in a great place. I really do, minus obviously what we spoke about. And I think if you fix those issues first, I don't think you need any more investments. I think you need to fix those issues first, and then we can start seeing more investments. Because if you're just building on top of a shaky foundation, everything's just going to fall down anyway. So you've got to get this foundation set, get those ops sorted, and then we can build on from there. But then speaking of building on, what would I like to see then? So what do I think? So bearing in mind this is a family park, I am a thrill seeker, but I'm not going to be talking about a 200-foot dive coaster. We've got to be realistic on this. This is a family park, and something like Apocalypse we've already seen that's too thrilling for the park, so it's not going to be anything like that. You've got to look at that and take that into account. So we're going to touch on the existing rides, go through a couple of water ride options there that I think would work well, of course flat rides and coasters as well, and we'll do it in that order. A couple of things kind of interlap, so I've got a coaster that's also a water ride, that's also a dark ride, so we'll link all those together towards the end of the video. But we'll start now talking about the existing infrastructure there that's at the park. Okay, so first off the bat then is the haunting. So this is a Vekoma Madhouse. This was joint first, so the first one was Villa Volta. That was technically the very first one to open. However, these did open on the same day. It's just that Villa Volta, the park there, they actually paid Vekoma money to basically be the first to operate. So this one opened, I think it was like an hour later. So it was still open the same year, same day, just technically the second one, even though it's kind of the first as well. But yeah, that's there. So it's a smaller version. It's half the size of something like Hex, which is obviously a lot, double the size. I love the story in this ride. I think the backstory is great. I love the kind of cheesy videos that you've got there from the 90s. It works really well. I think the Colcat kind of facade looks phenomenal. You've got with the old vicarage there at Drayton. It's fantastic. The whole backstory is great. The pre-show is fantastic. I love all that. I think it works really well. Where you get let down is the vault itself. So when you go in the vault, you can't see the other people because there's this giant kind of tomb thing in the middle, and it doesn't really do anything. It kind of does its little thing. And when we was on it, in fact, the last twice I've been on it, the ride stopped and had to restart because it didn't make the kind of 15-degree thing. Something went wrong, so the ride had to basically try again. So the ride could definitely do with a bit of improved, a bit of TLC, a bit of improved maintenance, and that kind of goes in with what I'm saying here as well. So I think you need to give this ride a refurbish. I definitely think you should keep it. I think it's a staple ride. It's really good, but get that sorted now. And then in terms of the vault, you've got this weird kind of lady pops out with her laser beam eyes. I don't get it. It's really weird. So sort your vault out. Have it. You've got this video where it comes in, these guys come in, and there's Ghostbuster people, and they all get killed by this spirit. And if you actually in the pre-show, if you look up, they're actually in the ceiling hovering there. That is phenomenal. It looks really good. I think maybe in the vault, let's have a bit of backstory. What happened? Something like that. Because this laser beam thing, it doesn't make sense. So I think definitely sort that out. Get some improved lighting there as well. I think you're on to an absolute winner. I love everything else about this ride. It's fantastic. It's a great staple classic attraction. And then finally with this ride, so when you come out the exit, you kind of come around the back of the vicarage and you go through, and I assume this used to be a cafe or some kind of shop. There's just this kind of empty space now. That would be, that would be a fantastic opportunity. Just have a gift shop in there, have a little coffee shop in there, something. It's themed in anyway at the front with the new Frontier Full. So, get the windows open so you can see in there and have a little coffee, something like that. And then as you come off the ride, you've got all this increased footfall. You're going to get secondary spend there as well. And it means that rather than just having the facade of Frontier Falls, you've got that little bit extra in there as well. A couple of open shops. It'll just increase the theming and increase the secondary spend there from the guest. So that's what I would do there with the Haunting. Okay, so next is the Bounty. Now the Bounty is a swinging ship there from Intamin. It's actually called the Intamin Bounty. So yeah, they really thought hard on this name, didn't they? But it's in my opinion, it's the best swinging ship in the UK. It swings the highest, it gets the most airtime. It is a bloody fantastic ride there, and it's right there over the lake, and it looks fantastic. It's a cracking staple ride. Now this ride has been down for a few months now. I've been hearing something to do with the motor. So basically, get this ride back operational. This is one of your staple rides of the park. You cannot have that ride down. But in terms of the lake itself, so I know obviously the lake is not an attraction, but you've got to clean this lake. It's disgusting, guys. Honestly, it's grim. I'll put this picture on screen now. This is from my last visit. You had green algae and just it was just awful. It stunk as well, like a swamp. This is like it is just a normal lake. Ducks swim in it. Ducks tend to crap in it. So it's just full of just poo and horrible stuff. So you've got to get some kind of water purifier, clean this lake up, because Stormforce 10 goes straight into the lake and it's lake water. And I love Stormforce 10, but I'm not going to go on the ride because it just stinks. It is grim. So get something on there, a little bit of a water purification system, something. It can definitely be done. It's the enclosed lake, so you can clean it up, and just get it a bit nicer. Because right now the presentation looks horrible. I don't want to go on the water rides, and that is your kind of you're all built around this lake. But if your lake is basically a big pond of poo, it's not looking great. So that's one thing I would say there as well. So you've got to clean up that lake. Okay, so I'll touch on the two main coasters now. So you've got the Wave and you've got Gold Rush. Now both of these currently are on one train services. So the Wave, which was obviously Shockwave, this has got one sit-down train there, which was built by Art Engineering. They're fairly comfortable. There's nothing really wrong with them in that sense. But for some reason, half the rows don't work. So you'll go on it and it's like row 4 or row 5 or row 2, whatever. It always seems to be a different row that's just not operating. So apparently there's a problem with the restraints, they don't lock or something, so they just basically leave it off. So when you got one train that's on a reduced capacity that prioritises fast pass with a 10-minute dispatch, the queue doesn't move. And it's a real big problem, to be fair. So you've got you need a second train and you need to sort your ops out. Again, we've already spoken ops, so I'll leave that one there, but you've got to get a second train. This is one of your major coasters, yeah? This coaster's 31 years old. It was actually my very first coaster I rode, and it's a fantastic coaster. Give it the love and respect it deserves. Get a second train on there. Yes, it will increase obviously the cost fee. Yes, it's not in terms of business decision, it probably doesn't make that much sense because you've got a second train. It doesn't. It's just going to cost you more operating costs. But from a guest experience, there's nothing else that you could do to that ride to make it better. If you half the queue length with the second train, and you need to now because the park gets so many guests. You've got to increase that capacity. So the Wave needs the second train. Gold Rush needs its second train fixing. So once you've done those, will be absolutely golden. I don't think Jormungandr needs a second train. I think you're right with one on that. Accelerator obviously can't run a second train unless you have some kind of dual platform, which is not going to happen. So the other coasters, no issues with that, but you've got to get these two on a second train. Just going to quickly touch on the Vikings area. So Loki, I don't know what's going on with Loki or Thor. Every time I've been, one seems to be down. There seems to be issues with it. I've not seen Loki operating, to be honest, since opening day. So don't know what's going on with that. But that needs sorting, obviously. It all just goes in with the kind of maintenance and the ride availability. You've got rides there, get them fixed, get them operating. You cannot afford to have rides down when you're that busy. So that's all I'll say on that one. Sheriff Showdown next. So, it's a good ride. I do enjoy it. I don't need another bloody bonus. Stop it. Honestly, it's just constant. You got a bonus, you got a bonus. It's just, honestly, I know, it's fine, cool, chill. It's getting a bit dated in there as well. The ride system's a bit old. You don't really know kind of what's what in a way. The guns aren't super accurate. It's a great ride for when it opened, but now it's starting to show its age. It's a little bit outdated. So I think you need something like the Curse of Mana treatment, something like that. Maybe take off the interactive element. Just have it like a kind of dark ride go through, or if you want to keep the interactive element, fine, but just update it because there's a hell of a lot better systems out there now. So some of the things is great, some of it's a bit rubbish. So yeah, it's not bad. And also the queue line, it's like going over this old like well or something with this giant hole in the floor. Don't know what's going on there. No idea. But yeah, do something with it. It's a great ride, but it definitely needs a little bit brought up to date. Okay, the final rides then in this section that we're going to talk about with the existing infrastructure, you've got Excalibur and you've got Pirate Adventure. Now these I believe are two kind of water dark ride things that were, I have no memory of these whatsoever. I'm fairly sure I've been on them. I'll put some things on the screen now so you can see it. So I can't speak too much on these. However, there has been rumours going on for quite some time now that Excalibur is having work done and it's going to reopen soon. And with the Looping Group reopening the old closed rides, such as the River Rapids there, it doesn't surprise me if this does get reopened. Now, I believe this ride closed like 2010, something around there, so it's been closed a long time now. There's probably quite a lot of work to bring these rides back up to date. However, if we see anything that the park's been doing, especially with the River Caves, reopening that, revitalising what's already there, I think, to be honest, the rumours that I've been hearing about Excalibur coming back, I think, to be honest, they might be warranted. There has been people that have been messaging me saying they've seen workmen around the kind of site there, so I think, to be honest, I think this will come back. Now, in what form, I don't know. So, the Pirate Adventure is right next to Excalibur, and I believe they're similar ons. They're both kind of boat dark rides. So, what I'd like to see, knock these two together and make one big standalone ride system itself. So you could do maybe something like Valhalla, where you've got the whole kind of themed dark ride experience in a boat ride. You could do something a little bit like Animal Adventure over at Gardaland. That ride is absolutely phenomenal. This used to be I Call Sorry, and just basically rethemed it a bit. You don't get wet on this ride, you're in a boat, and it's just the whole experience. I would say this is probably the best dark ride I've ever done. It was absolutely hands down the best experience. Honestly, it was phenomenal. So if you could do something like that, I think you're onto a winner here. I really do. Now, if it doesn't do that, then I think what should happen is you should turn this into a dark ride coaster kind of thing. So a little bit like you've got Arthur there, or the one there at Moverland Germany, you know, with the 4D coaster. I'll put some things on screen now so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say any more on that now. I'm going to leave that to the coaster section later on. But that's just something there, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But that's kind of everything I would do with the existing infrastructure at the park that's already there. So what we'll do now, we'll move straight on now to the water section. Okay, so with the water rides, we've already touched on, let's clean up the lake, let's get Stormfall's Town a bit nicer so we can go on that. There's one other thing I think you could do, well, two really. One is a splash battle. Now this park does get quite warm in summer, it is in the Midlands, so a little bit like Alton Towers, I've got some kind of splash battle there. I think if you did it, you know where the Jormungandr kind of comes down and the helix over the lake, if you had a little splash battle around that area there, I think that would work fantastic. You'd have a great interaction there between the rides, and you could theme this nicely into kind of like a Viking longboat, something like that. I think it would work really well indeed. They're not very thrilling, they're great little attraction there for the families, and you know, people go on Stormfall's 10 in winter, so you'll definitely go on a splash battle. So I think that would be a nice attraction there. Not one of my favourites, but I think it would work quite well in that area. The other water ride I always want to talk about then is some kind of water coaster. Now, I'm not talking a massive one, I'm talking something fairly low to the ground. Again, this is probably the most far out idea I've got. I know Poulton's are building one, and I believe that is themed to Vikings as well. So we could kind of see what they do, and then kind of go from there. I think a nice water coaster would work quite well. Again, doesn't have to be big. It could be in a similar position there, just over the lake, you know, just into the water. You know, kind of maybe go up, one little airtime hill drop, and back round. It doesn't have to be massive. This is a family park, so it wants to be quite low to the ground. I think that would work quite well, and that would be, you know, something we don't have in the UK currently, obviously excluding Poulton's that are building one. I think that would work very well indeed. But that's all I'd say there on the water rides. We're going to head now to the flat rides. Right, so with it in mind that it is, like I say, a family park, you can't have anything super thrilling. So I think from my point of view and what I'd like to see, I think there's one ride in particular that would stand out of this park, and it would work amazingly for the kind of target demographic. And that is one of the Art Engineering's Wild Swing. Now this will be an absolutely fantastic ride at the park. You don't have a ride that kind of, you know, does this kind of thing. It's a bit like a Huss top spin, but it doesn't go upside down. So it's just, you know, straight forward, straight back. There's a couple of these already been built out there, and I believe Poulton's Park are getting one as well. But that shouldn't mean that no other park can get them, you know. I mean, look at the SLCs, there's like 100 of them. So just because it's already in the UK doesn't mean you shouldn't have a new one. I think this will work absolutely fantastic. I think if you have it right there next to the lake as well, a little bit where the kind of fish and chip place is now, just before you get into Vikings, something like there opposite Excalibur, I think that would work quite well. You could have, because then the front of it, you've got the whole interaction with the crowd there. You know, everyone can look on and you can have that nice interaction. But then the back side of it is going over the lake. So you get the kind of, you know, a little bit more thrilling experience if you want it. And then you can go on the front there to interact with the families. So I think that would work absolutely fantastic. Also, Art Engineering are the people that built the train for the wave. And as we said earlier, we need a second train. So maybe you can do some kind of 2-for-1 deal here, you know, strike a little bit of a deal, get a second train there for the wave, and at the same time bring in one of these wild swings. I think that would be, in my opinion, one of the best things that you could do there for the park. A great attraction, a great addition, and one that would fit the lineup very well indeed. Okay, so as we all know, Apocalypse was taken out of the park, much to a lot of our dismay. You know, we really want Apocalypse to stay. Nothing's really replaced it. You know, they don't have an amazing skyline because most things are quite low to the ground. You've obviously got the wave there, which is obviously in their logo. But you need something tall, something, you know, to kind of pay homage there to Apocalypse, and something that could overlook the park because it's in a cracking location, and I'd love to see it from, you know, high up there as well. So potentially some kind of observation tower, something like that. But I think one that would work really well, something that we don't have many of in the UK, and it's a great family attraction, would be one of the Starflyers. So a little bit like the, I think it's Pterodactyl here, is it at Flamingo Land? Or you've got one as well, I can't say them out, what is it? Pretatrum or something? Sorry, I'm butchering the name there, Austrians. This one here, that's Vina Parata. So This one was made by Funtime as well. This is a cracking ride, I tell you. You get an amazing view of everything. Doesn't spin super fast. It's not very thrilling. It's a really good attraction there for the family, and one that you've now got that tall attraction there on the skyline, and one that overlooks the park. So I think some kind of a star flyer at this park would pay homage there to the old ride. I think it'd be a really, really good one indeed to get on there. This could go in a few locations. You could have it in the kind of middle section where you've got Excalibur, that kind of thing. You could have it over towards Stormforce 10 and theme it as a lighthouse to go with the Adventure Cove, because if you go down the back where the wave is, if you kind of take a left, you've got that whole seating area there, and there's nothing really there. It's just an observation platform to see the wave. So put something down there, I think something like that, theme it to a lighthouse. I think it worked absolutely fantastic. Really, really would like to see this at the park. And then also, because we don't have any kind of drop ride at the park anymore, obviously Apocalypse was gone. Yes, you can't have a drop tower. Clearly the park don't want one. However, there is a ride that I think would work very well. It's great for the family. It's an absolute spectacle of ride, and it would interact there with the lake, which is obviously Drayton Manor's core kind of appeal. This is one of these new Zamperla big waves. Now, someone actually put this in the comment to my recent poll there for the Pleasure Beach, but I think this would work so well here at Drayton Manor. So this is it's not super tall. It's a drop tower on both sides, but when it comes down, there's kind of like a big guillotine-looking device, and it goes there into a big pool of water at the bottom, and this gets everyone soaked. Now, I think this would work absolutely fantastic there at Drayton Manor. You could have like a little kind of splash zone area. Again, I'm talking sort of where the Bounty is, that kind of area. You've got like a little lip there. So you've got Bounty here, and you can just see Stormforce 10 there, and you've got a little gap there. Something there would work fantastic. I'm sure they do a smaller one. I've not seen these in person. I think there's only one of these actually built out there. So one of those would be fantastic. It'd be a first for Europe, it'd be a first for the UK, and it looks incredible. So that is what I would love to see. One of these Zamperla big waves. You can have it splash into the lake, so you got that, and obviously coming this way. Have a little splash zone there. Again, I just think this would be a fantastic addition to the park. But do let me know what you think. Has any of you actually been on one of these rides? Have you seen it? I don't know where they are. I can't find any information on it. But I do remember seeing this, and obviously someone put the comment on there. I'll put some obviously things on screen now so you can see what I'm talking about. But I think these would work absolutely fantastic. The only thing I would say then is Thomas Land. So in terms of Thomas Land, this is probably one of their kind of core draws to the park. It's a really good IP for them. They've been doing great work there. They've been expanding Thomas Land. They've put the little water ride in there. I think if you're going to do anything with that, maybe some kind of SBF Visa coaster, a little bit of a step up with Troublesome Trucks, but not quite as thrilling as Accelerator. That's about the only thing I could think in that area. Just a little bit more thrilling of a coaster. But apart from that, I think Thomas Land is a fantastic area for the park, and one that they seem to know what they're doing with. So yeah, that's it for the whole flat ride section. I'm not going to say much more on Thomas Land, as it's not really aimed at me, and I don't know too much about it. I'm going to move on now to the most exciting part of the video, obviously, which is the roller coasters. Okay, so the reason I've left it to the last then is I don't think the park needs a new coaster. I think the coaster lineup at the park at the moment is fantastic. I think they've got a great mix of attractions there. Everything from your powered coaster there and your Munganda, all the way up to Gold Rush, this kind of family thrill coaster, and then the inverting coaster there in the Wave. I think you've got a fantastic kind of step up there with attractions, and I think the lineup in terms of the coasters is one of the best in the UK for that kind of all-round experience for the whole family. So really, really happy with it. Obviously, the Gold Rush has only just been built in 2024, so they don't need a new coaster anytime soon. However, we're going to talk about it, obviously. This is the Future of series. I'll talk about what I would like to see, or what I think could happen, and then I'll talk about one addition that if money was no object, this is what I would build. So what I'll say first, though, is Drayton Manor is not just a theme park, it's also a zoo. The zoo is not looking great, I'll be honest. It seems like this kind of tacked-on addition right there at the back of the park. I didn't even know there was a zoo there until Tristan, Coaster T, pointed out to me a couple of visits ago. I was like, oh, I completely forgot about that, because it's just kind of off to the side on its own. You don't really go to it. It looks a bit run down. I did check it out last visit there. Everything's just kind of caged off. It's not looking great. And the Looping Group do own West Midlands Safari Park. So what I'm going to say on that one is, I think they, over time, I'm not saying straight away, over time, slowly encroach on the zoo, take those animals and move them over to West Midlands Safari Park. I think you have that as like your Chester Zoo, have that as your kind of main zoo kind of, theme park, a bit like Kolmården over in Sweden. So, they've got, it's all a zoo and then there's a couple of rides. So that could be West Midlands, that could be its own kind of thing. Fantastic, no issues. And then you've got all this expansion space at the back for Drayton Manor, for the, the rides and things. One thing I would love to see is just as you go in the entrance, so if you've been to the pizza pasta place on the right, just as you go in there, you've got a seating area on the left. I think the best thing you could possibly build in there, bearing in mind then that this is still in Frontier Falls, you could quite easily theme this into the Wild West theme, but what I would love to see would be a small GCI wooden coaster. Now, all in the history of the park, they've never built a wooden coaster. There isn't one there today. So I think this would fit the layout perfectly. And I've been doing a couple of research around, a bit of digging, and I found one that would fit absolutely perfectly. So I'm going to put a little bit of POV on screen now. So this is called Wild Buffalo. Now this is in France at a park called Le Mire de Sable. It's actually a 1.1 metre height restriction, and it's basically just this small little baby GCI wooden coaster. Now this looks absolutely fantastic, and as I say, you could easily theme it into the Wild West. I mean, it's wooden anyway. But also one thing that I found quite interesting, this park's actually owned by the Looping Group. So, I didn't even know this until filming this video, so that was just, fantastic. So they've already got experience, they know they could just do a carbon copy of this ride if they really wanted to. That's what I would love to see. Now, what you could do as well, if you're not going to get rid of the zoo, you could quite easily have there, have like a little pen there with, I don't suppose you get buffaloes in it or whatever, something Wild Westy, some horses maybe, something like that I think would work really well for the area there. You could have a stables, really theme it nicely. Or as I say, if you're going to get rid of the zoo and move it over to West Midlands Safari Park, you can just slowly expand this space over time as and when you need to. But I think right in that corner there, just near the pizza pasta place, just as you walk into the zoo, one of these GCI small wooden coasters, I think it would be absolutely fantastic. And I can't think of a better coaster for this park. It fits a gap there. It's in a great location, great space for it. It fits the theme of the area, and it's something that they don't currently have. The only other GCI we've got in the UK actually is Wickerman, and if you see that is always busy. It looks fantastic. It's a family pleaser. It's smooth. It's reliable. It is a absolutely fantastic coaster. So I think this one would work just as well. So that's what I would love to see. I think that's the best fit for the park in terms of a coaster. And that's basically it. So let me know what you guys think in terms of that one. Now, the very last thing we'll talk about then. So we mentioned it briefly earlier in terms of the Excalibur and the Parrot Adventure. What would I like to see there? So if money was no object and I could have whatever I want at the park, obviously bearing in mind the target demographic, what I would love to see would be a Vekoma, surprising, a suspended family coaster. Now, yes, okay, I'm a Vekoma fanboy, I get it. However, if you've ridden the Pterodactyl there at Poultons Park, I've also ridden one at Engelandia now, they are just phenomenal coasters. They're so smooth, they're enjoyable, they're actually fairly thrilling, you can get nice pops of airtime on there. They're not super big, they're just a great all-round coaster. As I say, we've only got the one in the UK, which is down at the Poultons, which, if anyone can agree with me or disagree with this one, I think Poultons is the best family park in the UK. I think it really is the gold standard. So if you're going to do something, just look at what they do and then do the same. Basically, you can't go wrong. Poultons are incredible. So if you could do, a small suspended family coaster there from Vekoma, I think this would be, in my opinion, the best thing you can do for this park. Nicely add there to the coaster lineup. And in terms of the Parrot Adventure and Excalibur, now I've looked at a couple of POVs on these. I don't remember the going on these. I probably have, but I was too young to remember. They look very similar. One's indoor, one's outdoor. So the Parrot Adventure, as you think, it's like a little. If you've been on Pirates of the Caribbean there at Disneyland Paris, kind of similar to that. You just kind of going around, you see scenes of pirates, things like that. Very similar to that one. And then Excalibur is like a little boat ride that's outside. So it doesn't look great, if I'm honest, and obviously even the Pirate Adventure doesn't look great. I think, to be honest, get these together. You can have an indoor and outdoor section. You can have you know, a nice family coaster there going over the indoor section, have like a nice kind of dark ride. You can even theme it to Paris if you want. You know, you've got the facade, you've got the big castle there as well. Theme it to that, theme it fantasy, whatever you want. You can have an indoor section there where the Pirate Adventure was, an outdoor section there where Excalibur is. Theme it amazingly. You've got the water. I just think that's because it's something like Arthur. You know, Arthur is a suspended coaster. You go through the scenes, absolutely phenomenal coaster. You could quite easily do the same here. You could also have it, you know, going over the pathway, have a little bit over the lake. There's just so much you could do with this. So I think if you're not going to reopen Excalibur, Pirate Adventure, or do something with that area, let's stick a SFC coaster in there from Vekoma, and let's get that up and running. So that would be everything there that I would do with the park. Everything from, let's say, the operations, which is needed like now. I'd then go on to some kind of flat ride like the Wild Swing there from Art Engineering. I think we should then go on to like a GCI coaster there. And I think that will be it. I think the park's in a fantastic position. I think Looping Group really know the target audience. I think they know what they're doing. The park's in a really good shape. But with this massive influx of guests, you've got to sort your operations out. You've got to get that capacity up, because currently the guest experience is pretty awful. But that's it then, guys. So that's everything then that I would do with the park from this future of video. Now, if you do want to see videos like this, then be sure to check out the playlist. We've got loads of other ones. We've got Alton Towers, Blackpool, Flamingo Land, and Thorpe Park. So we are going to be continuing this series over time. It's just this series takes, for one of these videos, it's like 3 or 4 weeks. It takes an absolute age, research it, you know, find all the information out, edit it together. So that's why there's a bit of a delay in it. But I do love making them, so we're going to do one for every part going forwards, and then obviously we'll just keep this rolling over time. So yeah, so if you want to do them, please make sure to check out the place there. If you want to see other videos like vlogs and things, then there's loads on the channel. You can check the links in the description, and obviously stay tuned at the end, you'll see the two that come on screen. But that's it then, guys. So if you have found value in today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram at DiveLoopCoasters for all the latest. But from here today, with the future of Drayton Manor, thank you so much for watching. Good night, God bless, see you in the next one.